Well, a very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to LarinasLabyrinth. I am Anna, and of course I deliver the videos here, sharing my information and knowledge with you in the hope that we can have conversations as best we can and develop our knowledge further. For your information, if you're new to the channel, I would point you to the description where I put chapters in there so that you can jump to the areas of interest for you. The next thing I have to do is apologise. Normally I load the yarning videos on a Sunday. This week I didn't manage to do so. It's probably going to be Sunday somewhere in the world by the time I load this, but I'm loading it Monday morning West Australian time. The first thing to note is, yes, I'm very sorry that I'm late for loading this. And also, I thank you for joining me, and I invite you to put your comments up. A lot of the information I share I kind of differentiate because some of it is that empirical knowledge that you pick up along your life path, such as the crystals and that kind of information through using and experiencing things. Other information that I share with people is strategy and technique, generally speaking, that I've accumulated through my studies of Bachelor of Social Work and in the mental health field. So the bottom line is I try to articulate very clearly when I'm talking from empirical and non-evidence-based and when I'm talking from evidence-based stuff. But bearing in mind, even if I'm talking from evidence-based stuff, research changes, and what can be correct or true to evidence at the time I record the videos, that can change down the track based on new information. So I always encourage people to do their own research in subjects of interest to them. Anyway, before we get into what we're talking about today, I will try and rush through it, but who knows how long this is going to take. It could be a tangent day. So anyway, without further ado, I'd like to express some gratitude for, some of the blessings in my life right now. And there's more than what I'm actually putting on the video because I can't talk about all of them. We would just run out of time. Anyway, the first one off the track is actually I'm grateful for my son and also for the YouTube interactions that I've had. So I'll start with acknowledging my son first, this is not a photograph of me. My son's a grown, well, they call them hairy butt man these days. But anyway, he lives interstate and he came over for work-related training and he's been staying with me. Now, if you a regular of the channel, yay, I appreciate you. But if you are, you're going to be aware that, of course, I've been unwell and it's been lingering and it's had me bedbound at different times. And so, of course, in that process, I've fallen behind with just the basic fundamentals, such as cleaning, staying on top of the in-depth cleaning, bit of superficial stuff, and I've become very cluttered. And I was hoping to try and get my act together, but it just seems to be delay after delay. Anyway, my gratitude to him extends for the fact that, the whole time he's been here, he has cooked me dinner every single night, has not expected me to cook. He's actually helped to organise me, get my decluttering done, and just to get on top of things around the house because I've been unwell. He's been so thoughtful and so considerate. I feel really, truly blessed. So the next thing to be grateful for that I truly, truly appreciate, because we have had dreadful weather, I call it dreadful, which sounds extremely ungrateful. Look, here in Perth, we do need rain. We absolutely need it because it becomes very dry. And so rainfall is a blessing, and we're coming towards the end of winter, shall I say. And it's just, we've had the most rain in 30 years, apparently, that we've had for, obviously a long time, 30 years. But either way, when you get this kind of rain, it's torrential and the skies are grey. It gets very bleak. The amount of rain has actually taken a toll on many of us where, we're so used to blue skies. We can cope with the cold if the sky is blue and, has those beautiful white fluffy clouds in it. But once the clouds come in and they turn grey and it's combined with this torrential rain and cold days, that becomes hard work for somebody like me. So where initially I was grateful for rain, it's kind of like the novelty has worn off now, and now it's, can we please have some sunny days? Bottom line is actually the sun came out yesterday afternoon, thank God for that, so that's some real gratitude. But on top of that, on one of these dark, miserable, rainy days, I thought, it seems to be that the birds have become a little bit confused, but either way, it's a good omen that spring is coming. It's very close. It starts for us, I think, at the beginning of September. Either way, the cue was watching the birds in the trees because they decided to, well, put it this way, I watched them in the trees and I thought, ooh, I think we're going to have babies soon. And just seeing the fact, I thought, well, they're getting a bit ahead of themselves. But either way, it means spring is coming. I'm going to be so glad when it arrives. And the next lot of gratitude actually goes into the wider community. I could acknowledge some of the lovely people that I've managed to catch up with over the last week. But yeah, I'll stick to being grateful for or extending this because it demonstrates to me what a wonderful opportunity really that YouTube and social media can be to grow your knowledge. So I'm very grateful to, I believe it's a gentleman I've never actually asked called Ilya, because he responded to one of the videos that I loaded and shared information about another crystal that he's familiar with. And I will do a video on it. It's called Clear Midnight Lace Obsidian. And the image that we've got here, what happened was, I heard from him and I thought, you know what, I've never seen this and I've never heard of it. And for making my content on YouTube, I like to have that rounded experience when I'm talking about talking about crystals. So I've actually gone ahead and made a purchase, and the item that you see in this image, this is what my one's going to look like. Okay. Now, he has kindly contacted me through the contact form on my website and given me a lot more information and sent me photographs, because what I found was conflicting information, and this is quite normal when we're looking for information on crystals. I found a lot of conflicting information on where it's sourced, how it looks. You know, some of the items that I was looking at, I was thinking that it was actually black obsidian, but some of it looks black until you hold it up to the light or get the sun behind it, and then you see the clearness there. So he sent me some of his photos of the stuff that he's got, and I say he, if it's a she, I apologize. And so anyway, it was really great to have that interaction with this person and learn and grow with them, because they actually gave me more information. Now, one of the things that I've always said, I'm not, although some people call me a teacher, and to some extent I am, but I believe we're all teachers. You know, if we've got information about something, we have the capacity to share and teach others about it. The problem that can be, or that I realise can be a problem, and in fact, I should be talking about this in more detail. I learned a long time ago that the best teacher is actually your guides. If you want to know something about a spiritual topic, then the idea is that you meditate, you reflect on it, and you get your answers, especially when you're developing your intuition and those kind of things. But where I say there is a limitation on that is if there is other information that you're not aware of, then you're not going to think to ask your guides for information. You know, you have to have a little tidbit there to actually meditate, reflect upon, ask the questions and get the answers. And so what he did was he gave me some information about something that I'd never heard of before, and that's part of what I call growing myself and growing my soul. So I was very appreciative of that, and I'd really love to actually interact with anybody who has got the wisdom and is happy and comfortable to share it. Same as I'll share with you. So I'm going to do hopefully a fairly quick reflection for this week, because this is largely prompted by the fact that my son is here, and because of his current experiences, which have reminded me about boundaries, boundary relationships, relationship endings, and also because I've been doing work on the website, which we're going to talk about in a little while. And one of the activities that I'm putting on the website right now is to do with relationship endings, broken heart, and cutting the cord so that people can move on. And part of being able to work through this, I guess, is knowing what a person needs in a relationship and what they want from a relationship. And this requires a level of self-awareness, being aware, knowing yourself enough to know what your needs are and what you would like from the person, especially if it's intimate partner, within that relationship too. And the reality is that quite often we have to be very honest with ourselves, and we will suppress part of our identity when we get into a new relationship because we're eager to make that relationship work. So we might find that initially when we get with a person, and I am talking about intimate partners here, we tend to put on that best face. Now, there are many of us, if we're honest, we have to be honest about this, right? Quite often we might, as the person, get with another person and then turn around and say down the track, well, they weren't who I thought they were because I was seeing an aspect of them, but I wasn't seeing the whole aspect, and not all of it was pretty or attractive or whatever. Now, equally, people can say that about us, because when we're getting together with a person, we're getting to know them. We're not showing them the fullness of ourselves, and that is something that tends to become apparent over a period of time. And if you look at some of the videos I've got up about relationship boundaries and relationship circles and all the rest of it, it's not necessarily because people are being dishonest. It's because all of us as human beings, we've got vulnerabilities. And so therefore, our inner sanctum is basically the sacred space. And to be able to have a healthy relationship, even in long-term relationships, not all intimate partners get into that sacred space, that real inner sanctum. Sometimes people keep them just slightly out from that. But either way, the closer a person gets within a relationship to that inner sanctum requires trust, okay? And so that's why when we first get with people, we're building trust and allowing them to come close to our inner sanctum. And in that process, we identify if there is shared goals, shared dreams, and if there's compatibility for down the track. And this is why when we first connect with a person, we might find ourselves saying this business of yes when we actually mean no. And sometimes that's fine, because sometimes it's not a huge drama. For instance, one that might be problematic is if you've got somebody who's a nomad that likes to travel all around the world and consider themselves to be a global citizen of the world. They might not necessarily want a committed relationship, but they might want to be able to come back and spend time with you regularly, whereas that other person might be a homebody. And this can be male or female, by the way, because one lady I was talking to the other day, her relationship has been long distance basically for about 7 years now, because she is the traveller and he stays at home supporting her until she's ready to settle down and come home and get married. So it can happen on both sides of the gender equation. But either way, that relationship is now getting to the point where a decision has got to be made. He wants her to come home. He's supported her long enough while she's been travelling. He loves her, he cares about her, vice versa. She loves him, cares about him too, but she's not sure that she wants to settle down, for example. So obviously he's been saying yes to her desires for travel for a long time, and now he's getting to the space where it's like, yeah, no, I'm no longer happy. So it can become a problem if it's not addressed. So what does that look like? At this point, what you're looking at is potentially a relationship ending. It either comes to a dead end or there's a fork in the road, but it requires having that honest conversation with the person that you're with and trying to establish where is it that they see their future going, and is that the direction that you want to go? Because sometimes it actually is a shared goal and it's a matter of negotiating how you're both going to get to that destination. Other times it becomes apparent that actually you both have different visions and views of the future and what that holds, and it might be really, really super important for you to continue upon a specific pathway, whereas it's important to the other person that they do X and Y. And so to actually continue to be together means that one party has to deny their authentic expression, shall we say. And worst case scenario, if we're talking about spirituality, it might mean that because you enjoy being together, one person actually diverts from their life path and divine plan because they want to make the other person happy. That is I'm not going to go too far into that, but obviously that's going to be extremely problematic. Anyway, so in regards to the reflection for me, because I did actually get a phone call before my son came over here, and he was in that cognitive state of dissonance where it's, I can see we're traveling two different pathways, but I really like her. She's a nice person. I want to stay with her, things like that. And then it's, well, why are we having this conversation? Why are you calling me up and talking to me about this? Are you wanting someone to vent to, or are you looking for someone to tell you what to do? Because, by the way, I'm not going to tell him what to do. We all have to take responsibility for our decisions. And, especially when it comes to relationships, if somebody ends a relationship because another person said to you, it's not going to work, well, later on they'll turn around and go, well, I would have stayed with them except so-and-so told me not to. Very emotionally juvenile, I've got to say, but it does happen. So adults will actually make those decisions, but sometimes they need to vent that emotional dissonance to find that space or place where they need to be calm to make this decision. So all that really happened with that was, I explained to my son how he would be able to make a healthy decision, and then to have that conversation with her, because he wanted to be sure that they were traveling in different directions before he decided to end it. Still holding out hope for change. That's another subject in itself, actually. If you're trying to change somebody, you're not accepting them, and that's not love. Okay. So anyway, had a conversation with her, and they agreed to go their different ways. And this is where I find it very interesting, and it came up in a conversation, I think, perhaps with my daughter the other day, probably related to the same subject about how you would approach doing a relationship ending with kindness. An emotional responsibility is about recognizing your feelings are your own, and nobody makes you feel the way that you do or don't. And within this instance, it would be a case of, the person's reached the decision that they're traveling in different directions. The relationship is, no longer a shared trajectory or whatever. So once that decision has been made by yourself, or, well, it has to be you, when you say go back and speak to the person and you've established it, you don't say things that might end up with well, I would have stayed with you if you just did X and Y. Okay, because that's transferring and projecting your needs onto other people in a blaming way, and which is extremely hurtful, because they are who they are, okay? And they will grow at the perfect rate for them. And just because they're not the perfect person for you doesn't mean that they're not going to be the perfect person for somebody else, or that there is no one out there who's going to have the same goals and mindset as what they do. And so what I had tried to instill, I guess, in the conversation was that you just you avoid blaming, okay? And you do it's just not working, right? It's not working for me. Don't go into justifying. Women will tend to, in a relationship ending, more so than a man, turn around and say things like, but why? I can change. What is it you want me to do so that we can stay together, right? And the thing is that whatever you say at that point is going to be personalised. It's going to be very hurtful to them, especially if you put yourself into the position of saying, well, I don't like the way you put your toothpaste on your toothbrush. Stuff like that. I'm just trivialising here. I don't like that, and I don't like this, and I don't like that, right? All you're doing is making excuses for leaving them. Okay, the bottom line is it's very cut and dried. It's not working, you're not happy, but you don't need to say that. You just can turn around and say, look, we're obviously going in different directions for now, and because it's a fork in the road that you've met, you like them, you value them, you got together with them for a reason, because you actually like them, but you want to actually now step back from the relationship and perhaps reconnect with them in the future as a friend, because you do value them, they are important to you, but you're going different pathways. And in fairness, by the time a relationship gets to this point, the other person will be getting signs and signals, even if it hasn't been verbalized. And that's because people's behavior changes before a relationship ending. They may become more withdrawn, less conversational, more angry, more snappy, more irritable, and that kind of thing. The signs are there, and it's up to us to actually notice them. Anyway, I'm going to leave that with you, that thought, and go on to what's been happening with the website. So as I said before, part of the prompting for me to do the reflection on relationships and boundaries and relationship endings is because of the web development. Now, I may be repeating myself because I'm slightly losing my marbles this morning, but either way, I have been working on the aura content, and I had promised you that I would work on the content. I'll just jump to the next slide. So this is the stuff that I've been talking about doing over the last couple of weeks, but because of my health issues, I haven't managed to get on top of it. Well, there has been some developments. Okay, I am back on top of it, and I am working on these activities. And my focus at the moment is on aura, which is obviously purifying, cleansing, shielding the aura, and giving you some activities to do it. And one of the things that is relevant for maintaining a healthy aura is actually to ensure that there's no energetic hooks, shall we say. So I've been working on the cord cutting activity, and you can do that one even if you're in a healthy relationship. Well, I say healthy. Look, at different times within relationships, we can become a little bit codependent, and sometimes it's just, a part of purifying your aura and making sure that people remain energetically independent, shall we say, because then it tends to be a healthier relationship. I actually don't want to go into that too far. I've got information on independence and codependence in the spiritual law content, which I've got the YouTube channel there. But look, suffice to say, I am back on track. You're not going to be able to see the changes and the developments yet because I've got to publish the website. And before I do that, I want to finish off this content here. And I'm very close to it. I should have it done by Sunday, fingers and toes crossed, although there are some distractions this week. One of those distractions being, of course, the local community gathering that's happening in Mount Lawley, and that is on this Wednesday. So I'm preparing for that currently, and obviously I've got more stock. I always have featured crystals there. So for your information, it's on Wednesday, Mount Lawley, Beaufort Street, Community Centre. You can get tickets on the Eventbrite website. The tickets are free, just letting you know that. If you want to put in, because I do provide tea, coffee and biscuits, you can make a donation for that. I've got a donation box, but you don't have to if you can't afford it or you don't want to. It's there, it's optional. And I will have along a selection of crystals if people are interested in purchasing them. But I also just bring them along as well so that people can see, hold them and get a bit of an idea about whether or not that's a crystal that they would like to get down the track. When I get my Midnight Lace Obsidian, I will definitely bring it along and I will definitely test and trial it. So that will probably arrive for the September event. Just letting you know. Oh, yeah. If you need more information, contact me on the website, okay? So I had my first experience. Oh, okay. Talking about the Crystal Magic playlist and content and just crystals in general, I thought I would share with you my first experience of wholesale buying from overseas. And I have to laugh. Okay, so where it is I've been seeking and looking for, because mine broke many years ago, some really nice almondine garnet bracelets. I love them. Anyway, I saw them online and I thought, okay, I reckon they'll be popular, as you do. I'll buy a couple of them, different sizes, samples, because of course wrist size is relevant, as is the bead size. I like the beads big, other people don't. But anyway, I approached the seller and I said, okay, based on the prices, I got a quote on the prices first, obviously. Okay, I'll have 3, whatever, we'll say that, less than a kilo, okay, weight-wise less than a kilo. So he gave me the price for the bracelets, and then he came back and he told me it was going to cost $62, if you don't mind, for freight to me in Australia. Oh, well, I choked, okay? I'll be quite honest now, I've been doing enough buying from that area to realise that the going freight rate is between $11 to $15 is all I've ever had to pay, because the more quantities you buy, obviously the cheaper the per kilo rate is. So if I'm just buying 1 kilo, I would expect the freight to be $15 is where I go, or where I'm going with this. We were selling it for $62 a kilo. So me being who I am, I've gone back to him and said, you may want to revisit that freight cost, which he said that he would. And because I said, I'm not paying that. That's straight up. I am absolutely not paying $62 per kilo for 3 bracelets. Not happening. So he said, okay, I'll revisit it. So I waited for him to get back to me. He was a little bit slow, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to waste my time here. I just sent back and I said, you need to be aware, or it would help if you were aware, I've purchased many items out of your area, and the most I've ever paid is $15 a kilo. So I would expect your freight quote to come back as that, otherwise cancel the order. Disappointingly, he cancelled the order. So there you go. It does happen. It happens a lot on the retail platforms. This is the first time I've had it with a wholesaler with this really hugely marked up freight cost. So as for the video content loaded on the Crystal Magic playlist, obviously Money Agate went up. I've bought that. I'm going to bring some along to the event on Wednesday night. I actually have decided that I really love this stuff. It's just gorgeous and I can't explain it. Now, the other video that I put up last week was actually Snowflake Obsidian. And if you went and had a look at that one, that's where you'll see all the comments coming back to me from Ilya and a whole discussion about Midnight Lace Obsidian. That's where that happened. But either way, I've got some of this as well. Tumbled stones. I haven't got any spheres or whatever of this, but I got some tumbled stones and I'll be taking them along to the event on Wednesday as well, if that stuff blows your hair back. Next week, we're going to be looking at this crystal, and I've got to admit, I bought it as green mica. Took me a bit, it's actually been quite challenging to do my research on this because my stuff doesn't actually look like any of the photographs that we see online. The tower or point that we're looking at here is more like my stuff, but still not quite the same, and it was marketed as green mica. Anyway, there's a whole range of information on that video because it has truly challenged me to get the mineral type content and the sources for you on that. And when I say source, I'm talking about mining sources, not retail. Next week, of course, actually it's not next week now, it's this week. So this Thursday, you can expect to see the video on Black Obsidian go up. So green mica will go up on Tuesday. Black Obsidian should be published on the Thursday. That's all things going well. Obviously, we're on an Obsidian run here because I hope to put up the Midnight Lace Obsidian very soon as well. Sorry, trying to get my thoughts together. For now, though, I am going to leave you with that information, invite you to write your own comments, thoughts, beliefs, whatever, experiences, certainly with the crystals or, if you talk about things like relationships and boundaries, just remember, try and be a little bit discreet, okay? Because you don't want your personal information all over a public website, but by all means, make a comment. I invite them. I'm going to love you, leave you, take care, have a blessed day, catch you on the next video, and sorry for the delay in uploading.